So if you told me back when I started dropshipping that this is what it was going to look like in 2026, I would not believe you. Because nowadays, dropshipping is known for gurus making it look like an easy to get money printing machine. And of course, some bloke who got in 10 years ago has momentum stacked up and makes it look like an easy walk in the park. But what about beginners who just got into the game? How are they meant to compete? But right now, if I'm being frank, it's a bigger advantage to be a beginner than somebody who's been in this game for longer. And I'm not telling you this from my perspective because I've been in this game for a minute. I'm telling you from what I'm watching from hundreds of my students work right now. And the reason most of these beginners is hitting $1,000 a day while everybody is testing products is these 3 big shifts happening as we speak. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how all of them play out and how you can squeeze all the lemon juice out of your beginner's edge. All right, so the first shift is about the product itself. And I'm not talking about how you go about picking a winner or a new research method to go and find one. I'm talking about what you pay for the product versus how much you're making off of it, because that number is going to affect you way more than any winning product will. See, for about 10 years, there's been a rule called de minimis. And what it did was it let any parcel worth under $800 into America without paying a penny on duty. So no tax and no customs entry. It just went straight to the customer's door. Every cheap thing you've ever ordered off of an ad came under that rule, which is why it turned up 3 weeks late in a grey plastic bag with a custom sticker on the front of it. But now that has changed. America killed that rule for China under 1 year ago. A few months later, they killed it for every country on earth. And this summer, they made it permanent. So now every parcel pays, which is the reason that Temu and Shein are no longer cheap anymore. That's this. Now, this is the part that most people get wrong. And this is where the light bulb should go on. Everyone saw the tariff headlines and went, right, dropshipping is dead. Now, what's my answer to that? Dropshipping really is dead if you're still doing it the old way, where the price you paid never affected your decision. Back in the day, you'd see a posture corrector printing on TikTok, find it for $4 and just buy it straight from China. Because at $4, it costs you nothing to test. So when it died, you just go and find the next $4 thing and run it again. But now that same posture corrector pays duty and clears a proper customs entry on the way in. And you make less than half of what you used to make on it before you even spend a penny on ads. Now, the bad news is that there is no way around this. It hits everybody in e-commerce and dropshipping. The good news though, is that there's a way to do it where you barely even notice that it affects you. And that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years. Welcome to luxury dropshipping. You see, my products cost about $40 and I sell them for over $170. So the duty on that is a rounding error. I barely even notice it. And that gap right there, $40 to $170, that's the whole idea behind going into luxury. So if you want this thing to barely touch you, all you've got to do is sell something premium enough so that they can't just go and check the price somewhere else. What do I mean by that? Well, the duty comes out of your margin. So the only question that actually matters is how big is your margin in the first place? Because if it's big, the duty is a rounding error. And if it's thin, the duty is basically the entire business. So where does the big margin actually come from? It comes from you being the one who sets the price. And you only ever get to set the price if your customer can't go and find the exact same thing somewhere else for $11. And that's the whole reason luxury works. A proper premium product isn't sat on Amazon for $11. So there's nothing to compare it to, which means you're the only one who decides what it's worth. So if we go back to the posture corrector that we spoke about earlier, that's not a price problem, that's a competition problem. There's thousands of them on the market, they're all identical, so the cheapest one always wins. But a luxury product, there's nothing to line it up against. Nobody can undercut you because nobody else has it, which means you're the one deciding what it's worth. And that's how the game is actually being played in 2026. So to stay on top of this first shift, it's simple. Before you fall in love with a product, make sure that you go and look up the product first. If it's sat there on Amazon for $11, just walk away, no matter how good it looked printing on TikTok. All right, so the second shift is the sale. And I'm not talking about the first sale, the one everyone tells you to obsess over. I'm talking about the second one and the third one and so on. Because for about 10 years, the whole entire business model was built around this first sale. So you'd find your product, you'd run your ads to it, and after someone bought, you'd be trying to look for your next customer. And our posture corrector from example 1 is a perfect example of this, because no one would buy 2 of those unless the first one had already broken. Other than that, there is literally nothing that you can do with 2 posture correctors. You judge the whole product off of that one sale. If your ad made money on day 1, great, you've got a winner. And if it didn't, you'd just bin it and find the next thing. So every customer was a one-off. You'd pay to get them, you'd make your bit of margin once, and then you'd never speak to that customer ever again. You just go back to start from zero with a brand new stranger. And for years, that worked fine, because getting your first sale was cheap. But in 2026, the game took a 180-degree turn. Ads have got a lot more expensive than they used to be. And for a lot of people, it doesn't even do that anymore. By the time that you've paid for the click, you're already down before you've made a penny. So everyone's out there fighting over the same shrinking bit of margin on that purchase, squeezing the hook, squeezing the creative, all of them scrapping over the front end. But what if that customer who paid you once, pays you a second time, pays you a third time? You're not paying to get them anymore because you've already spent that. So those next 2 orders are almost pure profit, which means, and this is the bit that matters, you can afford to make nothing on that first sale. So let's say it costs you 50 bucks to get a customer and your product makes you 45 bucks. Now the old way of doing that, you're done there and you've lost a fiver. But if that same customer comes back and buys twice more over the next couple of months, well, now he's suddenly worth $90 to you instead of the $45 he initially paid. Now here's why that matters so much. Because you can make your money back on that second and third order. You can afford to basically break even on the first one. You can even afford to lose a little bit on the first order. And what this actually does, it lets you outbid every single other person going after that exact same customer. So think about everyone else bidding against you for that same customer. They've only got that one first sale to work with. So they can only spend so much on ads before they are unprofitable. They're capped. But you're not, because you're able to make your money back on the second and the third order, not just the first. So you can happily outspend every single one of them to get that customer and still come out ahead. But don't get me wrong, if you can initially get that first sale and it be profitable on the first sale, then that is going to allow you to scale a lot faster. And it also gives you more time to be testing more ads. Because if you find something that is breaking even, you can still scale it. But if you can find something that's giving you 20% profit margins on the first sale, imagine how much profit that's going to make you over the next 2 or 3 months on just that one customer. And the truth is, the person who can afford to spend the most to get a customer is the one who wins. And right now, that's going to be you. Now, if you take a closer look, this ties straight back into the first shift. And the two actually work together. Shift 1 told you to build your business around a product people can't just go and find for 11 bucks somewhere else. This one's telling you to do it around a completely different system. Can they actually buy it more than once? Is there a refill? Is there an upgrade? Is there something in the set that they'll actually come back for? Because a product someone buys one time and then never comes back again is a completely different business to one where they come back and buy from you over and over again. The guy who's been doing this for 10 years is actually going to be the guy who gets stuck here because he built his store around one product. That worked back in the day. And for him to go back now and rebuild that entire thing around a second and a third purchase, he needs to change his offers, he needs to change the way he's doing his creatives, he needs to build new email flows. It's just a completely different way of thinking about the customer, which is why I often say this in this new phase of dropshipping. Beginners have an edge over the ones who have been doing this for years. Most of these veterans won't switch to this new model because it's a massive pain. And the old way still sort of limps them along the way. So if you haven't built something solid yet, there's no reason to think that you're behind. You're actually just entering the best possible time to start your dropshipping business because you get to build it right the first time. You pick a product people actually come back for, and you set the whole thing up to sell them more than once from day one. And really, it all comes down to one question you ask yourself before you pick a product. Why would this person ever come back to me and buy for a second time? Because if you can't answer that in one sentence, then it's a one-off. And you should know by this part of the video that one-offs don't just clear anymore. So go and find the thing that they buy once, love, and then come back and buy more and more and more of it. All right, so the third shift is the brand moats. Now, when I say moats, what I mean is the one thing that protects your store from everyone else trying to do the exact same thing as you. Now, what most people don't know is that everybody's had one of these moats, including you. You've had it this whole time, but you've never really just realized that it's actually there. You see, for years, a big thing protecting your business was whether or not it looked legit. Because if you think about it, 9 out of those 10 stores selling that same trending thing off of TikTok looked like an absolute scam with dodgy photos. It had broken English, and it just had a checkout that looked like it was going to nick all your bank details. So if you just turned up and you looked like a real proper shop, you earned their trust by ranking a higher trust score. And nobody really thought about that as a moat because they didn't have to. It just worked. People would just buy. Well, not anymore, because every single store that you click on from a Facebook ad looks completely fine. The themes are clean, the AI photos are tidy, the checkout's smooth as anything. So looking legit used to be rare. That was the whole thing that set you apart. But now it's just the standard. Every store has it. And when every single store has it, then it doesn't make you look unique in any way. And this is where most people get this brand thing completely wrong. Normally, when you think of a brand, you think of the logo, the colors, the packaging, but that's the exact same stuff that anybody now, literally anybody, can just copy with AI. Somebody can nick every single part of your pixel, your packaging, your logo, your ads, and still not have what you've actually got. Because the stuff that actually makes a brand isn't the stuff that you see on the front end. So what actually is a brand? Here's how I think about it. It's just these 4 things. Number 1 is who it's for. As in, who's the actual customer that you're making this for? Number 2 is what you sell them. So that's your actual product. Number 3 is what you say about it, how you talk about it, what you stand for. And number 4 is whose name pops into their head when they think about that thing. Now this matters so much because if your store looked good back in the day, then that was enough to win. But now every store looks legit, and so the edge is just gone. And what this means is dropshipping isn't dropshipping anymore. It's proper e-commerce, where you have a real brand. And the ones winning from here aren't just ripping the next trending product. They're the ones actually building the brand out of these 4 things. And this is where your edge comes in. Because the guy that's been doing this for years, he built his whole thing back when the store was the Moat. So he just grabbed a trending product, put it up on a store, run some ads, and that was it. He made some first sales. He never actually had to build a real brand. And now we can't just turn it into one, because the whole thing's been built like the old way. And this is where being a complete beginner actually works in your favor, because you get to build it like a brand from day one. And that's the entire thing with this whole last shift. Because somebody can come and rip your product, they can steal your ads, they can do whatever they want with your store, all of it. But too few people will copy and actually see results from it, a brand that has been built for 3-4 months and built trust in the space. And it's not that they can't do it, but they have to build it over a longer period of time. They can't just use AI to copy and paste what you've made in one day. And in 2026, almost nobody is willing to build a long-term brand, which is what I believe your biggest advantage is if you know how to use it. Instead, you're the one who everyone else is trying to catch up to. So those are the 3 big shifts changing dropshipping right now, and why being a beginner is actually the perfect time to jump in. Now, if you want to see exactly how I build one of these for real, how I pick and scale a luxury branded product from scratch, go and watch this video where I break down step by step the exact way I do it for myself.